Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I am on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I am joined by Emma Lawton. Emma,
Hello.
hello. Thank you so much for joining me via the powers of Zoom technology. We've just been having a bit of a conversation about Emma's done a log and a blog using various methods, and we all wished that we had discovered Zoom sooner. But so Emma, you're joining me today because you've got quite an extraordinary story. You were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at 29, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah, coming up to 5 years ago. It'll be my 5 year anniversary on at the end of this month. So time flies. Definitely, it feels like I've had it a lot longer, but also 5 years has whizzed by.
Right, okay. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your life before you were diagnosed and then when you were diagnosed?
Sure. Yeah. So before I was diagnosed, I was probably your average sort of 29-year-old. I was getting on with life, sort of fairly comfortable in my career. I was working as a designer for an agency. Spending a lot of time going out, spending a lot of time shopping, just doing all the things that normal people do at that age. Not
Yeah.
really thinking about sort of settling down, not really thinking about buying a house or anything. Just, you're kind of young and in London and you don't really have any real kind of goals a lot of the time. You're just kind of happy with your lot and kind of meandering a little bit. And Parkinson's was not something I was expecting. Definitely not as a 29-year-old girl. It's normally something that's kind of more, happens more in kind of older men.
Yeah.
And I basically just had this kind of strange feeling in my right arm that was something I couldn't put down to anything in particular. It just felt weird, just weak and sort of claw-like. When I tried to grab my mouse, it would kind of go into a bit of a claw, and my friends at work referred to it as the claw. And when I
Okay.
tried to do design work, it was known as the claw.
Oh,
And it kind of became like a standing joke that I never did anything about it. And it was only when I was at my dad's 60th birthday party that I basically walked into a room, and one of our friends who works in healthcare said, "What's wrong with your arm?" And I thought, oh no, she's noticed it, and now my parents have heard her say it, and I'm going to have to go and do something about it. So for my dad's birthday present, he made me promise that I would go and see a doctor about it. Probably
right.
the best present I've ever bought him. But they were really concerned. Like, my dad for ages had been kind of shaking my hand to test the strength every time I saw him, because he was
Okay.
clearly concerned that I was getting weaker, and he'd noticed it as well. So my diagnosis kind of came after probably a couple of months of sort of, I went for tests and they do brain scans and things like that. Kind of lots of walking up and down. They said my arm didn't swing when I walk, and that's apparently a dead giveaway with Parkinson's in some people. And
Okay.
I got my diagnosis at the end of April 2013. So it was not
Crikey.
what I was expecting, but it was an answer to a lot of things that I couldn't really work out. Now I know they're all Parkinson's related. They're kind of the non-physical symptoms of Parkinson's. Being a bit confused sometimes, not being able to make decisions,
Right.
quite emotional, getting depression and stuff like that. They're all stuff that you can get through Parkinson's, and I definitely kind of had each of those things in the run-up and not really known. And as soon as I
Sure.
started medication, it kind of cleared up a lot. So it was a real relief to get diagnosed. I know that probably doesn't sound like it would be a relief, but it was.
Yeah, I guess that when you don't know what's wrong with you, it is a
Yeah,
worry, and you can't until you know what it is. You can't go about treating it, can you? But
yeah. And the weird thing with Parkinson's as well is that it's kind of diagnosis by elimination. There's kind of one test they can do for Parkinson's, which is a brain scan, but often it doesn't show up.
okay,
So they basically test kind of for other things, and then if it's not one of those, it tends to be Parkinson's, or they'll say it's Parkinson's. So they're never really 100% sure. I think when they diagnose it, it's a case of like, let's try the medication and see if it makes you better, and if it does, then it's Parkinson's.
sure. Oh gosh, crikey. So, describe for me what it was like. Like you say, you were 29 years old,
Yeah.
busy working, shopping, and doing what most 29-year-olds do. Can you sort of remember? I'm sure you probably. That's a stupid question. Can you remember what it? It must have been one of those moments you're never going to forget. Actually, when you were told that it was Parkinson's.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really sticks in my head. I remember my dad being in the waiting room for some insane reason. We'd kind of gone in without my dad, and we kind of were told to go and get him. So we knew it was probably going to be something serious. And this was
Right.
the first appointment I'd actually taken my parents to. All the other appointments I'd gone to by myself, and just thought it was a trapped nerve or something tiny. And I kind of knew it was something bigger. I was actually working on the Parkinson's UK website at work, designing the website with my colleagues, and so it was on every computer around me, and it's I knew all the symptoms, I knew everything, and so it was kind of a weird twist of fate. So when they told me, I had already sort of made my peace with it. I'd already decided it's what I'd got, not being a hypochondriac, but just it sounded right, it made sense, and it was the lesser of many evils. They'd also said that it could be Wilson's disease or Huntington's disease, which you die from both of those. So Parkinson's was, I was rooting for Parkinson's. You don't die from Parkinson's, you die with it. So I was,
Okay.
I was rooting for the kind of lesser of the evils.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I got diagnosed, I was relieved. My parents, I don't think, were relieved, but in my head, I said, "Phew, I've got something that I can handle. I can cope with this." And I know that kind of everyone around me took their lead from me. They sort of realised that I was genuinely okay with it, and it took some time to really be okay with it. But it's my kind of
Uh,
initial response was definitely one of relief.
uh-huh. Sorry, the light. I'm gonna have to do a Mexican wave to get the lights come back on.
Keep Mexican waving myself, and it's not enough Mexican waves in the middle of interviews.
It's because our lights are on a sensor. I completely
Just can't
and
take it off and just wiggle. You need to be me. You need like a shake or something.
oh, sorry about that. um, sorry, completely thrown us off track now. Okay, so where did we get to? You've been diagnosed and you were relieved.
Yeah,
Describe to me how life has changed, because that was 5 years ago now,
5 years ago. Yeah.
and you've done a lot of stuff in the meantime, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit. When I first got diagnosed, I think I just sort of went into like kind of button down the hatches mode, which I know a lot of people do. You have to work out how you feel about it and how
Sure.
your family and friends feel about it before you can do anything, I think, in the public. And it was, I think someone asked me whether I wanted to go in and talk to the charity about doing some media work. I think I did a talk for one of the pharmaceutical companies through my nurse or something, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed kind of talking about my story, because by that point we're maybe sort of 6 months to a year in, and I've worked out how I feel about it, and I've gone through the dark patch, which is where you say no to everything because you don't know how to talk to people about it. And
Yeah.
I'd gone through that patch and was kind of out the other side and wanted to do stuff and was keen to say yes to everything. And they handed me a form at Parkinson's UK and said, "Do you fancy doing media work?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds alright. I probably won't ever get asked to do anything." Did I know, like, 5 years later, I'd be doing all the stuff that I'm doing. But it's kind of spiraled. Like every one thing I've done has turned into something else, and I feel incredibly lucky to have the support of the Parkinson's community, who are just incredibly behind me in everything that I'm doing, and just I feel like I've kind of been able to give a voice to people that sometimes don't have a voice or don't have a platform. And I feel like it's a massive weight. It's a huge weight that I bear. I know it sounds really like I'm being martyr, but it's trying to get it right is really difficult, because I don't want to be too positive, or I don't want to be whatever, but it's a responsibility I'm really proud to have. And I
Mm.
feel very lucky to kind of be trusted by people to go and say things for them, and by the community to kind of be a bit of a mouthpiece for them. So I feel very lucky.
Yeah, I can imagine that is quite a hard line to follow, balancing
Yeah,
between because you're lucky that you've got this amazing positive outlook on life, and there'll be the people that maybe end up as positive as you, but are still in that first year, that first dark
yeah,
point. And so and some people that won't ever kind of be able to come to terms with it and might
yeah,
stay angry with it, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
Everyone sort of deals with it in different ways, I think, and it's acknowledging. It's the kind of the line that I've found almost with it is what I call positive realism. So it's kind of being realistic that it's a really horrible disease. It's
mm,
really hard to live with, but actually it makes it harder if you're not positive. If you're positive about it, then if you can't control your body, but you can control your mind. And I think some of it is having a positive attitude means that you feel like you're fighting back at it a little bit. It can take a lot of things away from you, but it can't take your personality, it can't take your fire and your spirits, it can't take your sense of humour. A lot of people with Parkinson's have amazing sense of humour and really see the funny side of it, which it's very difficult because it's a horrible condition, but it kind of seems to find the best in people a lot of the time, and I'm really kind of proud of the community for being like that. There's obviously people that are really struggling, and if you're struggling, you have to struggle, you have to just get on with it, and the thought of doing anything other than just getting by day to day is impossible. But I've had messages from people who've said, we're grateful for what you're doing, we can't do it, we're not in the place that we can do it, we're not there yet, but thank you for doing it, and that means a hell of a lot to me. So
yeah. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the project that you've literally finished. And there's a new project as well that we'll talk about in a minute. But the project that's just finished, you blogged every day for a whole year, like the proper ups and downs, the lows and highs of what it's like to live with Parkinson's, and I take my hat off to you, because editing a video every night.
Oh my god, I got so sick of it.
I bet you did. But you mentioned that earlier in this conversation you mentioned that you were treading a line between the highs and the lows, and speaking to so many people. But you mentioned to me about the peer support, and that it became obviously it was a big part of your life because you were doing it every day, but you knew that there were people waiting to hear from you.
I feel almost now that I've kind of this is why the new project, which I'll talk about in a minute, has kind of come about, but I almost feel like I've left a load of people in the lurch who kind of come to rely on the stories and to feel like they've got a friend on the other side of the world almost in some cases. And I feel like I needed to do something after that project. But it was incredible to kind of feel the support, and to have it started off as just being something that I thought it'd be fun to do it. It'd just be good to see how long I can do it for. I never thought I'd be able to do it for any kind of length of time. I thought it'd probably last about a week, and then it just gathered momentum, and I really enjoyed doing it. And actually, it's a really interesting thing for me to look back on. It's hard to look back on because obviously my neck is in the way that it is at the moment, which is actually not a Parkinson's related thing, but Parkinson's is making it worse and more hard to kind of treat. So I've actually just prolapsed a disc in my neck, which is uncomfortable, and also just got missed because of the Parkinson's. So at the very beginning of the videos, I'm all like straight and upright and looking normal, and then by the end of it I'm like this, and it's difficult to see that change in myself. But actually it's nice to have the record of the year, and actually I'm kind of glad in a way that something happened that sort of made it not be that kind of chocolate box picture of happiness the whole way through, that actually it kind of gave me some sort of real kind of stories to tell near the end, because I think I would have just carried on in that same way of, life is good, life is sweet, I've got Parkinson's but I can handle it. Actually the situations that I found myself in really taught me a lot about myself and my condition, and I was able to be more honest about the condition and hopefully help more people because I found myself in this vulnerable position.
Right. That's fantastic, and I'm sure it has helped loads of people. Well, I know you've got about 800 subscribers, haven't you, that tune into your videos? So
so there's kind of there seems to be like a regular following, which is really nice. I kind of get people messaging me saying that they've been kind of watching the whole time, and some people watch it like a box set at the weekend, and it's really nice. Really nice.
That's really cool. I like that box set. So tell us about your new project.
So basically the last project was called PD365 because it was Parkinson's disease for 365 days. And I realised during the time that I was doing that actually the bit that I was enjoying most was interviewing other people, because I realised that actually my voice was getting a bit samey and I had the same opinions as myself all the time, and it was nice to kind of to hear some other voices, and that I knew a lot of really incredible people who were in the Parkinson's community, or sort of people that they were kind of peripheral characters in the story as I was kind of doing stuff. They'd basically be someone whose feet you'd see, or you'd see them kind of walk into shot, or I'd talk about them. And I thought it might be nice to highlight those characters as people that are part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started interviewing people, and that actually kind of took over the blog a little bit near the end. I got really kind of caught up in it, and most of them started becoming about that instead of
Uh-huh.
me. Actually, people tuned in and said they loved to hear from other people, and that actually kind of validated how they felt about things, and that they learnt a lot.
Okay.
And a lot of people also told me that when they were diagnosed, they were kind of dumped in it a little bit, that it was almost like they got told, you've got Parkinson's, here's some medication, go away for 6 months and then come back for a first appointment. And that's a lot to deal with when you're kind of newly diagnosed. You don't know where to turn, you don't know who to talk to.
Sure.
And I think when I was diagnosed, the thing that kind of set me on the right path was having an incredible care team, but also having the support of my peers. So people with Parkinson's who I could turn to and, send messages to in the middle of the night and be like, I've taken too much medication, am I going to die? All this kind of stuff that concerns you and that you need to kind of try and work out in your own head.
Yeah.
And basically, I kind of came to the conclusion that that was something that was necessary for people to come to terms with a diagnosis, to actually have that peer support. And so many people don't have it. So
Mm.
I've launched a crowdfunding campaign for a project called 365s.com, based on the PD365. The idea being that, people all over the world are having their own sort of 365s, their own years happening.
Yeah.
And that actually, they're kind of learning how to come to terms with their condition. So it will be like a platform for video blogging. I'm going to work with people that want to video blog, and they can kind of offer solutions to problems that other people are maybe having. So you'll be able to go on there and maybe type in, I have Parkinson's and I'm concerned about side effects of medication. And it'll pick up all the keywords that you've typed and say, here's some content that we can serve back to you that, is useful. So here's some videos about medication. Here's some videos about deep brain stimulation. That could be an option for you. Here's some, some kind of things that will make you feel better about your condition. And I think that's a really important thing. I think it's really helpful to people to have that kind of connection with people and their stories to come to terms with their diagnosis.
Sounds like an absolutely fantastic resource to be able to log into your new website when it gets launched and find not only people with the same condition as you, but also if you've got a specific question about that condition, you will have tagged everything up so that they can search for the right sort of information that they need. That sounds amazing.
The plan is as well that it would start off being Parkinson's, because obviously I know Parkinson's is kind of a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
So start with Parkinson's and then kind of move on to other major health conditions that are kind of long-term or chronic, and work with kind of the charities and individuals that are doing blogging and stuff, and then try and work out a way of kind of tagging it all. So you would then go onto the site and, perhaps if I'm having problems with employment, I could look and there might be someone with MS that's having a similar situation and I can learn from them, because ultimately we're all kind of dealing with similar stuff, just with different conditions, really. So
sure, that's awesome. So when did you launch? You've put it on a Kickstarter crowdfunding.
Yeah, it's on Just Giving crowdfunding.
Where are you at the moment with that?
Just over halfway. Well, time-wise, I'm kind of a couple of days in, but just over halfway to my title, which is I'm really happy with. So
that's amazing. So that'll get like the initial website up and running, but then I guess you're going to have to do a bit more funding to keep it going.
Yeah. And the plan is to kind of do sort of blogger training, so train people through train kind of charities and stuff to give blogger training so that they can train bloggers to do what they need to do for the site, sort of thing, and pay for that.
Fantastic. So Emma, what would your message be to someone that was just getting diagnosed with Parkinson, that's going to go through what you've been through so far?
I would say take your time to know how you feel about it, because you don't have to rush into doing anything. You don't have to rush into making any big decisions. I made some big decisions early on that were luckily good, like I bought a house and things like that. I should, they're not the kind of things you should do when you've just been diagnosed with a long-term health condition, but I needed that stability. So I think just take some time, give the people around you time. They might take a little bit longer to get to where you are than you do, sort of thing, to kind of feel okay about it and to feel like you can move on. And and then find people that are going through the same thing as you, whether that's online or in real life, or it's really helpful to have those people that know what it's like to live with the condition. Friends and family can be an incredible support, but they will never understand fully what it's like to have it.
Yeah.
So if you can find people that are similar age to you, it's a bonus. But just go to the pub with them. Just don't sit and talk about Parkinson's, but just be there for each other, and that will help you no end. It's so important, and it's been the kind of saving grace for me. And actually, the kind of silver lining of having Parkinson's has been the people that I've met. So I think that's really important.
Fantastic. You've really underplayed yourself, actually, because I know you've done some very cool stuff. I know you've done a TEDx talk, and
I've done 4.
4. Goodness me, that's amazing.
I didn't underplay it there, did I?
No. Fantastic. Yeah, and other very cool things as well.
I've been very lucky. I've had some incredible opportunities that I know I wouldn't have had if it hadn't been for Parkinson's. So I think that's why I find it easy to be positive, because my life is full and exciting, and I can see why people struggle, because if you don't have those things to look forward to every day, it could be harder. I know that I'm in an incredibly lucky position, but yeah, it's great. I feel kind of lucky to be able to tell my story on stages and to meet incredible people that are doing incredible things. And I'm now working in technology, so working kind of how we can get technology for Parkinson's in the hands of people that need it, and get it helping them, because I think technology is the future when it comes to healthcare. So I've kind of found my dream job as well, so I've been very lucky.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it, because I know how busy you are. If you like this video, then please do subscribe by clicking the subscribe button and the bell, so that you get notifications. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, then if you search @BeGladMovement, you should be able to find us. And of course, if you've got a story that you'd like to share, and it doesn't matter if it's a story that's similar to something that's already been shared, because your voice really will talk to someone in particular that needs to hear your story at that point in time. So please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Many thanks.